What is the best AR-15 barrel length? We're talking 5.56 rifle. Is it the full 16 inches that every company sells because that's the arbitrary legal length to be a rifle? 14.5 inches, pinned and welded so you don't need a tax stamp. 11.5 inches. 10.3 inches. Or something in the middle like a 12.5 or a 13.7, 13.9. I want to know what you guys think first. Let me know down in the comments what you think is the best barrel length for 5.56, or is it 18-20 inches? But I'm going to tell you what I think as well, because I've got 4 rifles in 5.56, and I do find myself using the shorter rifles much more often. Now, the interesting thing about 5.56 is that it was designed for use in longer barrels, in 20-inch M16. And the round itself is designed to go fast. And that's where it gets its major wounding capability. You know, the tumbling and fragmentation and all that is from speed. 5.56 is a very small round, but it's a very fast round. And the shorter your barrel is, well, the less velocity you get out of the round. And so you do lose effectiveness as you shorten your rifle up. But you gain, maneuverability, controllability, and there's a lot to be said for that as well. And so I think the perfect barrel length is you got to find a balance between those two things, about getting as much terminal effectiveness as you can while still having a rifle that is easy to control, easy to use, easy to move around with and stuff. I did a video, a short last winter on a snowy, windy day, talking about, I begged the question, is the 14.5 inch the perfect AR-15 barrel length? I had a suppressor on the end of it, and I was out there in the cold, and I was in a hurry, and to be quite honest, the rifle actually felt really long and just kind of clunky to me in that situation. Now, on a nice day, I'm out there at the range, I've got time to do what I want to do. It doesn't quite feel that way, but it did made me realize in that moment when I watched the short back when I got home, I was like, God, dude, I don't look like, I don't look good the way I'm handling the rifle in this short. And I'm willing to admit that, on my channel, I show everything that I do. I show the hits and I show the misses. I'm just a regular guy. I have gone to some classes and I shoot all the time, but I am by no means any kind of pro. But I do shoot all the time. And so I have found what works well for me. And I got to admit that my go-to rifle, basically ever since I put it together, has been the Mark 18, 10.3 inches. Now that is a very short barrel for 5.56, about half as long as the barrel length that the round was designed for. And so you do lose a lot of velocity out of a 10.3 inch barrel. Now there are more specialty rounds that you can use, 77 grain, TMK, OTMs, and you can get good effectiveness out of a 10.3 inch barrel. Plus, you also get very good effectiveness with it out to a certain distance. And that's the thing. The longer your barrel is, you can stretch that effective distance longer. But if you're using these for their intended purpose, defense of your life, or, we all know what the real purpose is as far as the Second Amendment goes. But how often are you making defensive shots out to 800, 1,000 yards? How often are we making defensive shots ever? Not really, but we practice and we train. I will admit here that most of my shooting is done within 100 yards. Now, there are the occasions, a few times each summer, that I get out and stretch it to 300, 500, even 600 yards. And for those occasions, I do take the rifles with the longer barrel lengths. But most of the shooting that I'm doing is, I would say, within 200 yards, maybe not 100. But, probably a vast majority of it actually within 100. And so a shorter barrel doesn't bother me, especially when I'm just punching holes in paper or shooting steel anyway. This video is sponsored by Aura. Aura has saved me a lot of time and a lot of energy because I don't get spam anymore and I don't get scam calls anymore, and that is huge. I'm sure if you are living in the modern age, you are sick of getting all the spam emails, spam phone calls. I mean, it was something that I was dealing with very regularly before I got Aura, and it drove me absolutely crazy. What happens is that your data is getting leaked pretty much constantly. Every time you buy something online, you put a credit card number in. I mean, you're basically inviting people to steal your data, and then data brokers sell that data to scammers and spammers, and that's how you get scammed. That's how you get spam, and it's a nightmare. It sucks. Well, Aura takes care of all that for you. And you can try it out free for 2 weeks if you use my link, aura.com/sawtooth-tactical, and you can decide if it's right for you or not. I can almost guarantee you're going to keep it. You set it up, it's like an app. And the first thing they do is they go online, they find all those data brokers that are selling your information, they submit opt-out requests on your behalf, and immediately you stop getting spam. You stop getting scam calls. In fact, they have scam call protection and an entire team in the US dedicated to helping you out if you do get scammed. And they take care of all of the rest of your online security at the same time. You get a VPN, which is honestly very important. You can basically, it's a virtual private network. Browse the internet safely and anonymously. And you get every other bit of online security that you would pay extra for as a separate service, but they package it all together for just $12 a month. Totally affordable, totally worth it. But again, try it out absolutely free for 14 days at aura.com/sawtooth-tactical. So let's briefly go over each of the barrel lengths that I have here today. And we're going to do it with a suppressor on the end of each one. The reason for that being suppressors are very popular now. And especially with tax stamps going to $0 at the beginning of next year, I believe they're only going to get even more popular. People use suppressors. And me, I don't shoot my ARs without suppressors on them anymore. Once you start shooting suppressed, you don't really want to go back. And so to me, this is the realistic way to look at these barrel lengths. So we're going to start with 16-inch because this is, again, that arbitrary barrel length that is legally a rifle according to the ATF. Well, when I first got my first AR, which was this one right here, 16-inch rifle, it didn't feel super long to me. Now that I'm used to running some shorter guns, it does. But I use this rifle for certain purposes. There's a reason that it has a magnified optic on it. Now, this is only a 1:6 LPVO, so it's not super magnified, but with 6 power, I can get this out to many hundreds of yards pretty dang easily. I like to set this one up in a tripod if I am shooting distance with it, and when it's set in a tripod like that or on bags, then the barrel length doesn't bother me. I don't notice it at all. If I was trying to run and gun with this thing at the range, with a suppressor on the end, this feels very long. And so that's the biggest reason for going shorter. Honestly, to me, it was when I started shooting suppressed all the time. That's when the shorter barrel lengths really started making a lot more sense. When you're trying to do drills with something like this, it's totally doable. I'm not saying it is not. But if you're trying to give yourself the advantage, it is easier to maneuver when you have the weight closer into your body and not way out there like I do on a 16-inch rifle. Now, I do think that each of these barrel lengths excels in certain ways. And this one does excel more than the shorter ones at shooting out to distance. It's got a longer barrel and it's got more magnification. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with 16-inch, but honestly, I don't see myself ever buying another 16-inch rifle ever again. Ever. And the only reason I did is because this is what they sold at the gun stores before I knew any better, before I knew about SBRs and AR pistols. And I think that really the only real reason to have a 16-inch or longer rifle at this point is if you were trying to shoot distance. That brings us to 14.5 inches, 14 and a half. This was the dream rifle build. I spared no expense. I used premium parts for every bit of this rifle, and it is built exactly the way I wanted like my dream rifle to be. But this was the rifle that made me really decide that I liked shorter barrels more, because again, once I got the suppressor on it, 14.5 inches still feels pretty long. You're only losing 1.5 inches from 16 inches. Now, that 1.5 inches does matter, and it doesn't feel as long as the 16-inch gun. I still have magnification on this one, but not as much magnification. Now, I do think that an LPVO would be appropriate on this gun, and I do have one coming that we're going to be trying out on this for a while at least. 14.5 inches is a pretty good barrel length for being able to shoot out to distance, but also being relatively maneuverable and easy to use at the range for shorter distance stuff. Although, when you start getting a suppressor, a laser, a light, and all this stuff on the end of it, all that weight way out on the end of the rifle does make a difference. You feel it. If you are having a long range day, you will start noticing that. And I hate to say that my dream rifle is the one that made me really want to use shorter barrels. 11.5, 11.5 inches. The difference between that 14.5 inch with the suppressor on it and the 11.5 inch is massive. All of a sudden, this thing feels just super easy to get around with. To sling it, to bring it up, to run drills with it, whatever I want to do. I mean, right now I've got a super safety in it. You know, shoot rapidly. I still have some magnification on this as well. Although I gotta admit that I usually use this with just the red dot. The 3x magnifier is kind of used rarely on this gun because I do consider the 11.5 inch more of a close range weapon. Although 11.5 inches, you're still getting enough velocity to definitely be pretty effective out to 300 or 400 yards, I'd say, maybe more. And so I think 11.5 inches is a very, very usable barrel length. This feels a lot easier to deal with than the 14.5 or the 16 inch, but still has decent enough velocity to get good terminal effectiveness out of the cartridge. The 10.3, the Mark 18, is my shortest 5.56 gun. And I wanted to show it first without the suppressor just because it looks comical, to be honest. I mean, I think this gun is funny when I don't have a suppressor on, especially because there's so much stuff on the end here. It kind of feels ridiculous. But that's kind of the point. When you have something this short, it makes more sense to have a suppressor on it. This gun does not feel long at all with a suppressor on it. And that is really nice. So I can fully run it suppressed all the time. No magnification on this one. This has been my go-to gun, the one that I shoot the most for quite a while now. And I mean, there's a reason why I've got kind of so much crap on here. Suppressor, laser aiming module, mod light. I know people hate them, have backup iron sights on this. Not that people hate backup iron sights. They hate how I have them placed, but once I put everything else on the front here, as you can see, I didn't have any room to put the front sight any farther forward. Now, will I ever need the backup iron sights? Probably not. And they might even come off this because I do think that looks a little ridiculous, but it also doesn't get in the way. 10.3 inch still gives you enough rail space to put most of the stuff on there that you want. But that is a good point, is that you do kind of run out of rail estate. Now, of course, I could put the laser on the side. There's lots of different things you can do. But this is the way that I like it set up. Laser on top. I can hit the fire button there. Or I've got, of course, the remote button here. I've got my mod light button right behind it. But as you can see, I did run out of rail, which is why the front sight is back there. So there are multiple drawbacks to shorter guns besides just less velocity and less terminal effectiveness of the round. But I promise you, the 10.3 inch Mark 18s have been putting in work in the United States military for years and have been putting bad guys in the dirt. This is a very effective gun, even with the 10.3 inch barrel. Now, would I go any shorter than 10.3 inches with 5.56? No, I would not. I don't recommend a 7.5 inch AR. I'm sorry. If that's your thing, I mean, more power to you. This is as short as I would go, and I feel like this is as short as you would ever need to go. To be quite honest, most suppressors are probably not rated for a 7.5 inch 5.56 anyway. And the whole point in going short, or at least a big reason for it in my opinion, is to be able to run a suppressor and still not have a very long rifle. And this is just easy. EOTech on a riser, this thing is great under night vision. This is my #1 night vision setup here. It's great during the day. It's just great. I love shooting this thing. It is fantastic. But do I think that it's the ideal barrel length? Unfortunately, I don't. I actually think that 11.5 is. I think that this is the ideal barrel length. And it kind of hurts me because my two nicest rifles are the 14.5 inch, which kind of feels long with the suppressor, and the 10.3 inch, which I will acknowledge does not have the very best terminal ballistics in the world. And I think I need to build another 11.5, which seems redundant when I already have an 11.5, but this is my PSA. It's my cheapest gun, Palmetto State Armory. It's my beater rifle. I've already broken one bolt in it. I had a binary trigger in it for years. Now I've got a super safety in it. I run the absolute crap out of this thing. It's been spray painted by yours truly. It's my beater gun, although I do run it as a 2-stamp gun. It is SBR'd, and I pretty much always run it suppressed. But I think I got to build another 11.5 because I want a really nice 11.5, because I do think that 11.5 or 12.5, I think that is that sweet spot of barrel length where you have a nice, easy to maneuver, easy to use rifle, but you still get pretty decent terminal ballistics. But let me know down in the comments, what is your favorite barrel length? And I'm talking about barrel length for like a dual rifle. If you could only have one AR, which luckily we can have as many ARs as we want. I mean, I'm talking about putting together another 11.5 even though I already have one. And that is the beauty of being an American and living in the country that has the Second Amendment. But if you could only have one AR, what barrel length would it be? To me, it is 11.5, and so I do think that I'm going to build a new 11.5. And not that there's anything wrong with this rifle. I mean, it's reliable. I have a lot of fun with it. I still shoot it all the dang time. But I kind of want to put together a really nice one, and I do have, I believe, a new to the market ambi receiver set coming soon. I don't even think it's been announced yet. And I think that I'm going to build an 11.5 with it. I'm going to do a Geisley Mark 16 rail, of course, Geisley trigger, probably an EOTech, maybe an EOTech and a magnifier. It's going to be an SBR, and I'm going to run it suppressed. And I'm going to build something really nice, I think. But let me know if that is something that you guys would want to see. I haven't done a build series in a little while. I think the last build series was the Mark 18, and it's been a little while now. Would you guys want to see a premium or a mid-tier 11.5 build? Or should I build something totally different that I don't even have? Should I build a long-range gun instead? With an 18-inch barrel. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Because a lot of what I do is for you guys. As much as I'm building these things because I enjoy them, I also want to bring you guys something that you actually want to watch. So what would you rather see? An 11.5 build, even though I already have an 11.5? Or more of a long-range precision build? I would love to know in the comments. I am thinking about doing a bolt gun build here soon too. So maybe all the more reason to do 11.5 with the AR receiver set. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a like. Make sure you subscribed. And from Sawtooth Tactical, stay strapped or get clapped.